the host was on holiday, so I got to fill in, and so I had more on-camera role, but I did a little voiceover. I did the main interviews because I usually we have a hand mic, and I usually run the hand mic around and talk to people, like just they're not necessarily considered industry superstars. They're just people who are coming to the events. So I say, what are you thinking? What's going on in the marketplace? What's going on in Financial Times? What are you trading? Because this is specifically a trading show. It's called Crypto Trader. It's about cryptocurrency. So, yeah, I'll just play the intro and then tell you a little bit more about the show and answer any questions that you have. I mean, my favorite part is to just talk to, I guess, like everyday people and what their opinions are. And I just think that it's much more varied rather than someone talking about their company and, you know, maybe just doing corporate talk, shall we say. But essentially what we do on every show is we get sponsors for the show. That's what helps pay for the show. The studio does support the TV show up to a certain percentage, but then we have to get commercial spots filled. And so the studio, they release it through the continent of Africa. And then we release the show online on YouTube to get a wider European and North American push. Since we do the show in English. We've also done a show in Korean as well, but mainly just English is our audience. For this episode, we put it together really last minute because the host, he was a South African accent that you heard in the beginning. He was on holiday, so I was a much smaller team and crew. So it was myself, we had a camera person, and then a main producer. So our producer does all the scripting and the directions to just say, okay, we're gonna do a walkthrough. I want you to walk into this interview scene. I want you to walk and talk and say this. And since we're like on location, mostly when they do news programs on location, you don't have a teleprompter. So they'll give you like a paragraph of what they want you to say, and then you just have to say it. Like when all of these like people are around and the event's going on, so like on a good day I can do it first take, on a bad day I do like 8 takes, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's really difficult for me when you have a lot of different names and industry terms that maybe we haven't used before because things are constantly changing. So so this one was in Malta, as you guys saw, and we take a combination of Creative Commons footage, drone footage that you saw there. We also do some with several of our studio cameras. So we have, I can tell you, but we have, you know, like the large camera setup. We do a mix of like iPhone, like if we're just like walking around, like, oh, this could be like a pretty shot, and then we just change it over to 4K. 60 frames per second or 24 frames per second to get it to high enough quality for the show. And then the event will sometimes also provide footage for us as well, so we can get like the big steady cameras that you see in the back of those. And then we just, save courtesy of the event. But yeah, I mean, but what's incredible to me is when I've sat down with the producers, and they can put out a show in 48 hours. So we will film it, we'll be on site, and then, for this one too, we didn't have time to like rent a studio, so we did the voiceovers in the hotel closet. I mean, literally what that looks like is, like, we set up pillows, there were like the fluffy bathrobes hanging up, and then, I'm not that tall, but there's the rack, and so I'm just like bending like halfway with like 2 different like mic setups trying to do the voiceover because we didn't have time to go to a studio. So that happens sometimes. And what else? But I mean, I love doing the news show because you never know what's gonna happen. There was a debate which they alluded to of 2 very controversial figures in the industry. Craig Wright, who claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto, which is the the minter of Bitcoin, and many people refute that statement, but he seems to be profiting from that, and so they're just calling him out that he isn't who he says he is, and then there are a couple main stage players that are on opposite sides of that debate. So
was that the guy who said yes I did?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so that was, I guess, the main piece to this particular show.
Yeah. Did you talk to him or?
Yeah, I did. It was interesting because I'd say that was the hardest interview that I've done so far. I was maybe most nervous to interview Ron Paul, but that was the hardest interview just because I would say things and one of his replies was, well, they're all just industry rapists. And I was like, how does that correspond to what I just asked you? And then like, what do I say in response to that? I mean, and that's all like on the show. And I mean, he just says these very strange responses to questions where we're trying to really get some feedback on what project he's working on, and then his people or his publicist said like they didn't want me to ask them certain things, so you also have to be wary of that.
You just have to ask him politely to stop raping the industry and answer your questions.
I mean, but unfortunately he's just accusing others of all of these things, not, he's the innocent one.
Yeah.
So.
How do you not lose it? Like, have you, with people like that, when you really sort of think, why am I talking to this guy?
Actually, I haven't had anyone be too, like in my face. They're calling out other people, and so then I just try and think, what do people want to know? Like, what will people be asking? And so that's what I try and do. And then I'm also taking cues off camera from like a producer, and so he's like, ask this or like do this, and then that kind of keeps me focused. But sometimes I do. I make some faces and they're like, don't make that face. So,
are they in
your... like, we had to cut that part, Lindsay.
Are they in your ear saying that?
No, they're live, like off stage, yeah.
But what about the guy you're talking to? Does he hear that too?
Yeah, but then we have hand signals too, like there's wrap it up. That's when like I'm going too long. So they'll just come directly, like if he's sitting back here, he'll come directly behind him and give me the signal, wrap it up. I'm like, okay. Or, then I guess we've developed a lot of nonverbals. He'll give me the cue, like, no, or don't go in that direction. Or then he'll feed me the line and then cut it up later. Like, so you can hear him giving me a cue off camera, but then he just cuts that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you done this show?
Just for a year. This year. Yeah.
So is it the one interviewing, preparing for understanding the psychological side of the object to be interviewed, or is it the producer feeding you with?
Yeah, I guess it's a combination. Sometimes, basically they'll give me like an outline of the story, and then I will go, and I mean, sometimes you can remember everything and sometimes you can't, and then I interject my own questions. And then I never phrase it quite like they phrase it. I mean, you have to realize there's no teleprompter, so then you're just going off of your own knowledge as well.
If you are prepared, you feel then you have had plenty of time to study that character, his whole life.
I mean, yeah, that would be
success story and
nice.
everything.
Before Ron Paul had 10 minutes. And so then I was like, wait, is it former congressman? Is it presidential candidate? Is it Mr. or the senator? And then I was like, what do you prefer? And then I'm like, oh, okay, we're on congressman, So that was, I had 10 minutes to try and just prepare on what the latest was. Because I had my own preconceived notions, but then that's not necessarily newsworthy.
What, were you asking him about stuff related to this
Yeah,
cryptocurrency?
so it was about free markets. He's always pushed free markets, and then how Bitcoin plays into free markets and why he's such an advocate for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and what that can do into limiting government interference.
And you yourself are like not only educated in cryptocurrency, this is what you do also?
This is what I do, yeah. So I do the show a few times a year, and then I also work for a crypto PR agency, which helps blockchain and cryptocurrency companies just get media and press. It's okay.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, then the show we do repost it on YouTube, so if you just search CNBC Crypto Trader,